Hey, shalom. I hope you guys can see me. I'm at work, but I wanted to take some time to address a discourse that I'm having or had with Moray Ariat of the NCCI Charlotte in North Carolina. I'm gonna tell you how this discourse came about, but the reason why I'm doing this video because there's a couple of times that he made reference to our discourse in his lessons, and there was a few bits of misinformation that he gave concerning that. So instead of me just posting it somewhere on the board, I wanted to just go ahead and do a video so that hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from, because he kind of, told the congregation his side, but and not really explaining what I was presenting to him. Information kind of got messed up. Okay, but anyway, here's the thing: I had presented to him the dynamic of, in the King James version, the word even and the word evening are two separate, different words. And both words come from the same Hebrew root, Arab, okay? The reason why this came about is because on the Day of Atonement, a few weeks back, and we're on the same calendar, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. We're on the same calendar, but they observed it where he did the lesson that evening. And when he did the lesson that evening, I was listening to it. And so he said he's quoted on Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and I think that's the 32nd verse, I believe. But we're going to read this. But anyway, when he read the verse, he said, on the 14th day at evening, from whatever version he was reading out of, okay? And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh man, wait a minute. That's utter confusion. Let me explain why it's utter confusion. And before I explain why it's utter confusion, I just want to just say that Moray Ariel, he is really, he depends a lot on the studies, the scholarly studies concerning the Hebrew language and the different tools that they use in terms of trying to explain scripture, okay? And something that he may not be aware of, what he don't believe, I'll say that, is that all of that scholarly stuff can really trip you up. Because, let me simplify it. No matter how many Hebrew words that you know, and how many so-called rules of the Hebrew language that you think you know, we will never ever be able to understand the Hebrew the way that our forefathers understood. You will never ever have a working knowledge of that Hebrew, because everything that you speak, the way that you speak and everything, is all going to be based off of your modern scholarship of Hebrews as taught by non-Hebrews, believe it or not. Okay? Now, on another note, I could take 3 or 4 Hebrew speakers and give them a passage anywhere in Scripture, and more often than not, they will come up with 4 different interpretations of that verse using their quote-unquote Hebrew, okay? One of the reasons why that's so is because Hebrew, unlike English, works like this. One Hebrew word can have multiple meanings, and one of them that we're going to deal with today is Arab. One root word, but then it takes on multiple meanings, okay? In English, there are a whole lot of words that take one meaning. English has a more variety of words where you can pinpoint precisely the word that you want to use as opposed to the Hebrew that we know of, where every single word has more than one meaning, okay? So that contributes to a lot of the confusion, all right? Now, before I continue with this, I want to bring to mind something in Isaiah, because I really want to, and I know this may sound ignorant to some people, but I've been teaching for 20 years. I'm in teaching in a moray capacity, and I've been in this walk for 30 years, and I've seen a lot of doctrine. Okay, but when I bring something, I'm not bringing it because I think this is how it may go or whatever. Oh no, I'm going to bring it to you line upon line, precept upon precept, and it's not going to be nothing confusing about it. Believe me when I tell you, okay? But anyway, where is this at? Hold on one second. I should have, okay. Isaiah 28 chapter give us something very, very deep here. And I just want to read this, okay? Isaiah 28 and verse 9 asks a question. Check this out. Really think about this. Isaiah 28 and 9 says, it says, whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? That's the question. Two questions. And what's the answer? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. See, I'm speaking a tongue that is not my native language. I'm speaking the English tongue right now. And according to what we read here, when he speak to this people, he done took the Hebrew tongue away from us. Now, am I kicking against Hebrew? I'm not kicking against Hebrew. It's cool that people want to know the Hebrew language as it's given to us at this day and time. Okay? But let me tell you something else about language real quickly, and I want to get into the discourse, okay? This English that you're hearing me speak, that you're used to hearing spoken, this English did not even exist. How I'm speaking right now, 200 years ago, nobody was speaking like this. English is one of the newest languages in the world. Newest languages in the world. And it has in itself evolved through time and place. Because if you go over there to England, where it originated from, sometimes you will hear them speaking a dialect of English, a Cockney English or whatever, and you won't understand half of what they're saying. But they're speaking English. We're speaking an American English, and even in American English, there are different dialects being spoken throughout the 50 states. My point is that if a brand new language relative can be so vastly different with so many newer rules than what was given when it was first spoken, then you can imagine that Hebrew have went through the exact same dynamic, being a much older language. I would wager that the Hebrew that Eber spoke, Eber being the great-grandson of Shem, the Eber that he spoke was slightly different than the Hebrew that Yaakov spoke, which was still vastly different in essence than the Hebrew that Yeshua spoke some 1400 years later. Okay? Because languages do evolve in time and space. So now we're going to get some books now that have Hebrew words, and we're going to learn the Hebrew alphabet, and we think that we're going to have a totally working dynamic of Hebrew to the level that our forefathers had. If you want to believe that, hey, go for it, okay? But getting back to this, I listened to the lesson, and the brother said regarding the Day of Atonement. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn to it. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Leviticus 23rd chapter. And he said this. He said on the, I'm going to go directly to this verse, and then we're going to back it up. Leviticus 23rd chapter and the 32nd verse, it says, "And this shall be a Shabbat of rest, and you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening." And that's how he read it. And when he read it, I was like, whoa. Okay. Let's understand something. This is going to throw some of you off, but I'm going to explain myself. There are 3 parts to a day. 3 parts to a day. I'm going to explain those 3 parts. When you go in Genesis, the first chapter, this is what it gives us. Please take notes. Please take notes, because I want you to dialogue with me if you hear something that you just don't understand. Because that's the only reason why I'm doing this, for edification purposes. Genesis first chapter says, and first verse says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. I'm going to make a statement that he and I agree on. But if he and I agree on this statement, then I'm trying to figure out, why is he confused in this? Listen up. Evening begins the day. We agreed on that. The beginning of the day is evening. Evening, by definition, is the darkness, black. Evening, night. That begins the day. Morning is the light, the sunrise. That's morning. But guess what, brothers and sisters? There is a 3rd part of the day. And that 3rd part of the day is rendered in the King James Version as even. Now, when the brother had listened to me attempt to break this down, he looked at the word even being interpreted as twilight, or the setting of the sun, which I'm going to show you this. It's the going down of the sun. That's that 3rd part of the day. Okay? And I believe that he said that the Hebrew word Ereb is Erebim. Erebim is twilight, or the going down of the sun. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to see how this works, though, because as much as all this stuff that he was trying to bring from this scholarly point, I'm going to show him it made no sense. So, let's recap. The day begins at evening, darkness. Then you have morning, the light, day. And then you have the setting of the sun, the going down of the sun, which in the KJV is rendered as even. If we understand that, then when you read the 9th day at evening, it can't be 9th day at evening, because evening is dark. And if it's the 9th day, then you have to have evening, morning, and twilight, and then you have a 10th day, evening, morning, and twilight. So you're saying that ninth day at evening is the beginning of the ninth day. And so you're fasting all the ninth day. And then where's the 10th day? The 10th day is the Day of Atonement. Not the ninth day. Not the ninth day, but the 10th day. But you begin it at the ninth day at even. See, that's the going down of the sun is your starting point. Read that verse again. It says again, let me go back there, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And when he was breaking this down, he never did explain what was read there in Leviticus, the 23rd, the 32nd verse. He never explained it. But I'm going to explain it to you. It says 23 and 32nd, 23rd chapter, and the 32nd verse, it says, well, watch this. Back up to the 27th verse. Some people may be confused. Back up to the 27th verse. It says, also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto YAH. Now I'm going to skip down to that 32nd verse. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. It already said the 10th day, right? It already told you it was a 10th day. But right here it says, you shall afflict your souls in the ninth day of the month at even. Even, again, that's the going down of the sun. Here's another crazy thing that they do in their scholarships. When it says evening, it means, see if you heard this before, between the evenings. In the transition state. There is no between the evenings. There is no transition state. The reason why these heathen scholars give you these terms, between the evenings, which is not in scriptures, and transition, is because they want you to believe that there is a part of the day that's ambiguous. Between the evenings, I mean, it's not quite the 14th, it's not quite the 15th, it's not quite the 9th, it's not quite the 10th. It's a transition. There is no such thing. Every single second of the day is part of either this day or the next day. There is no doggone transition or between the evenings. No such animal. That is confusion. So that's why I'm letting you know that when it says, it don't say at the transition, it gives you a specific time period. And don't let nobody tell you different. On the ninth day at even. So it's not counting the ninth day as the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement is the 10th day. But it begins at the ninth day at even. The going down of the sun. And then look what it says here. It says in the middle of 32nd, it says, from even unto even. Not evening. If it says evening, it's a lie. If it says evening, it's confusion. Because evening is the dark. It ain't the dark. It's the going down of the sun. From the going down of the sun on the ninth day until the going down of the sun on the 10th day. Watch this. Let's back up Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, because this is some confusion that a lot of people have because they do not understand. And by the way, didn't nobody teach me this? So that was something that the brother said that somebody else. No, because there's no one that I know, no one that I ever heard break down evening and even. You could search it online. You could go wherever you want to. No, the Father showed me this, and he showed it to me from what we just read, night and day at even. And I think what the reason why he had said that was because when I was discoursing with him, I told him that when I was in Indianapolis, I debated the same point with another Moray. And when I was talking to him, he disagreed with me. And then to prove his point, he brought out the Strong's Concordance. And when he brought out the Strong's Concordance, he showed me that even and evening both come from the same Hebrew word, arab. I'm like, oh, now that's interesting. It comes from the same Hebrew word, arab, but I know that the words are two different words. They didn't just arbitrarily choose one word and then choose another like that. No. And then we saw where they had a different number given for that same Hebrew word. It was a different number. So every time it showed even, it gave you one particular number. It said the root word Arab, but then it said twilight. And then for evening, it gave the same root word Arab, but it gave you a different number, and it said night. And so when I was explaining that to him, I said, and guess what? I didn't even know that. The brother showed me that, trying to prove his point, but I ended up showing him why he was confused and not understanding that they were different. Because I didn't look at the Hebrew or the Strong's Concordance to try to see what number was which. But based off of our discourse, I learned something in showing him that even the East. So I think that's what kind of confused my brother into and somehow he heard that somebody showed me this. And no, I'm a Moray, okay? I study and I read, and the Father showed me things. Have I ever been showed things from other people? Oh, absolutely I have. Because I was a student for 10 years before I became a Moray. But the very real significant things that I teach, that I bring, oh yeah, that comes from my own study, from me studying. And all you got to do is look at any of my videos and see, and you will catch that, okay? Glory be to the Most High. So I just want to clarify that, okay? Going back to this though, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and straight to the point, the 4th verse. These are the feasts of Yahuwah, even the holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. Verse 5, in the 14th day of the first month at even. The 14th day of the first month at even. Watch this. Watch this. It's Yahuwah's Passover. Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now see, some people think that these are two separate observances happening at two separate times. But I'm going to show you they're the same observance. The only thing is, watch this. When we read about the Day of Atonement, we read that it begins on the 9th day at even. There's no name given for that time period of 9th day at even. Let's pretend there is a name given. I'm just going to give you a name. I'm going to give you the Hebrew name, but don't think that it's something different. I'm just going to throw a separate name. And let's say, okay, the 9th day at even is called Kippur. But on the 10th day, it's called the Day of Atonement. So I just gave you a name for the 9th day at even, but then I gave you a separate name for the 10th day. But it's all the same observance. Here you see the exact same thing. You see, the 14th day at even is something called Passover. And what happens specifically on the 14th day at even, the going down of the sun, is that lamb is slain. But then when you go into the sun going down and it's now the 15th day, now you're dealing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You're eating it all as a feast. And the reason why I say all as a feast, because when you go into Exodus, the 12th chapter, is where you begin, where you can get the origin of this dynamic. And when you get the origin of this dynamic, there's only one feast going on. From the slaying of the lamb on the 14th day at even until it goes into that sun to set, and now they're eating. Okay? It's not you come for one day and you're doing Passover, then you turn around 24 hours later and come the next day and now you're doing the Feast of Unleavened Bread. No, if you read Exodus 12 chapter, it'll show you the whole thing. Okay? So, now we're going to go into Exodus 12 chapter. I'm going to show you something here in Exodus 12 chapter that's very interesting. Keep in mind, what we read in Leviticus the 23rd chapter was 14th day at even is Passover. And then on the 15th day, which comes directly after 14th day at even, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Watch this and pay attention. Turn to Exodus the 12th chapter. Exodus the 12th chapter. Now, I'm finna show you something that YAH showed me that I wasn't aware of. And I'm finna show you this. Exodus the 12th chapter, and it says, I'm going to skip down, but first let's start at the first verse. Exodus 12th chapter, verse 1 says, and Yahuwah spake unto, I call him Shemaiah, because the people called him Shemaiah, but that's a whole nother lesson. Moses and Aharon in the land of Mizraim, or Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Yisrael, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, blase, because I'm about to skip down to the point. 6th verse says, and you shall keep it up unto the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yisrael shall kill it in the, it says evening. But it was supposed to say even there, but it says evening. I'm like, man, it says evening there. Ariah, I'm sorry. Is it Ariah? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Ariah, I believe, right? Anyway, he said, brother, when I looked up the word evening in this verse, it says Eberim. I think that's how you pronounce it, Eberim. And it's interpreted as sunset, or the setting of the sun, or twilight. I'm like, oh, interesting. You know, bro, I know that it was supposed to be even there, but they looked at the root word in red and just put evening there. But I'm going to show you something, because here it says, the whole congregation of Yisrael should kill it in the evening, but it's supposed to be even there. Look at what they're talking about. They're talking about the killing, when the killing takes place. And they said the killing takes place, let me read that again. And they shall kill it in the evening. But again, it's supposed to be even. I'm going to show you this. Turn to Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter, and he is absolutely correct. It's supposed to not be the night not the night, darkness, but the going down of the sun. And he showed me that. Because all I know is it should say even there. And he said, yeah, brother, it's supposed to be Eberim, the going down of the sun, when he looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So now when you go into Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter, watch this. Watch this. Pay close attention here. Deuteronomy 16th chapter, and I'm going to go down, I'm going to go right down to the point. There's so much stuff I want to bring out here, but I'm going to just be real specific. Verse 6 says this. Well, I'm going to read verse 5, just to give you a little bit of something. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover. That's what we just read in Exodus 12. Sacrificing the Passover, which it said at evening. But watch this. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee. Verse 6. But at the place which Yahuwah thy Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even. See, it should have said even there too. Remember, we're talking about the exact same thing, sacrificing the Passover. But here it says, and look what it says here. It says that even at the going down of the sun. It gives you the definition of even, the going down of the sun. Not no between the evenings, not no transition. This is a part of the end part of the day. The last part of the day is the going down of the sun. The date didn't change. It's still the 14th day. It was a 14th day, all day on this day of preparation. But at even, right before it's dark, you kill the Passover. This is that Passover period. The going down of the sun, right as it's about to hit the 15th day, y'all. Right as it's about to hit the 15th day. So if you said 14th day at evening, then you're incorrect, because now you're saying it's the beginning of the 14th day. So you got the beginning of the 14th day, which is evening. Then you had the daytime, and then finally, some 18 hours later or whatever, you have even. 14th day at even, the going down of the sun. See, this is why you have to understand that there's a difference between the two, so you can have your timing perfect. Here's something that he said that was in error. It was totally in error because, again, in all that scholarship, bro, you're not paying attention to what's being written. Let's go back to Exodus, the 12th chapter. Watch this. And this is going to be it. Like I said, I didn't mean to be short-winded, but it's really simple if you have understanding. And you don't have to go into all this other man-made scholarship to try to come to it, because that's utter confusion. Check it out. Exodus, the 12th chapter. Exodus, the 12th chapter. I'm going to start this at verse 14. Reason why I want to start at 14, because this is learning something on the way to learning something. The Father's about to show Shemaiah how we were to continue to observe this as a memorial. And when he give us the instructions on how to observe this, there ain't no killing of any animal, or no animal has nothing to do with the memorial in observing this. Sounds strange, right? But let's see how it reads. Exodus, the 12th chapter and the 14th verse. And the reason why I'm saying this is because people get confused when they say, well, we're not supposed to be keeping a feast outside of Jerusalem. That's a lie. We keep the memorial of all the feasts. What was prohibited from us to do was sacrificing of animals, because there's two criteria that is required of us to offer sacrifice. One, that it has to be in a place that Yah chose to place his name there, which is Jerusalem. Second, it has to be done by the sons of Aharon, or the Levites. If you don't fit both of those criteria, you cannot sacrifice. But that doesn't mean that you can't observe the feast. Okay, I can go on and on concerning that dynamic, but I want to show you how this right here is broken down to kind of show you what I'm saying here. Exodus, the 12th chapter. Hopefully you guys are reading along and not just listening to me, because if you just listen to me, it's going to sound like confusion. But if you read along with me, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I understand what's going on now. Check this out. Exodus, the 12th chapter, and verse 14 says, and this day, this day shall be a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations, and you shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. How do we keep this feast? Pay attention. 15. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your house. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Yisrael. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Okay? Verse 17. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Mizraim. That day, brothers and sisters, is the 15th day of Abib. It's the day that he brought us out. It was the 15th day of Abib. And I think another reference that is the Numbers, the 33rd chapter, somewhere in there. It'll let you know that it was the 15th day. It's the day that he brought us out. And keep in mind, in Leviticus 23rd chapter says, and you shall have the feast of unleavened bread on the 15th day. It didn't say 15th day at even. It said the 15th day. Pay close attention. The 15th day. Pay attention. Let me read verse 17 again. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Mizraim. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by ordinance. How long? Forever. Forever. Pay attention. Verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall do what? Eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. When the brother read this, he said, brother, wait a minute. I thought it said 7 days. You have 8 days there. You don't have 8 days there, bro. Let me explain to you why you don't have 8 days there. Because when it gives you the starting point, just like Day of Atonement, it gave you a starting point. The 9th day at even. You're not counting the 9th day as a day. There's only one day. That's the 10th day. But you got a starting point of the 9th day at even. But the reason why you can't see it, because you're lost in the convoluted dynamic of between the evenings, as if there's no date for between the evenings or that transitional period. The scriptures don't give you neither one of those, bro. It gives you a specific time period. 9th day at even. There is a date for that transitional period that you call the going down of the sun, as it says in Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. It's called, as for atonement, the 9th day at even. For Passover, the 14th day at even. Both of those are the end of the day. So you're not counting that day as a whole day. The first day is the 15th day. That's the entire day. Counts as the first day. It's the same dynamic of when we try to teach people that the sun was in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. And people go, okay, he went in here, and they try to count like part of the day. Guess what? The Father don't deal with part of the day as far as counting it as a whole day. If you understand what I'm saying. Because Yahshua went in the grave before the setting of the sun. So that time that he went in the grave was not counted as the first day, because he was up on the cross for most of that day until he finally died, and they took his body down at even. But then that evening counted the first night, as it's about to go into the first day, as it's about to go into the second night, as it's going to come up to the second day, as it's going to be in a third night, and then it's going to be the third day. And at the even, before the going down of the sun, he comes up out the grave. So that when they arrived at the grave early, while it was yet dark, still dark, he was already gone. Understand how to count the time frame. So again, here it says in Exodus, the 12th chapter, verse 18, it says, and you shall begin to eat. I'm paraphrasing. I shouldn't paraphrase. I should read it as it is. Hold on one second. My scripture's turned. It says, 12 and 18 says, in the first month of the 14th day of the month at even, you shall do what? You shall eat unleavened bread. You're eating your unleavened bread as you're killing the Passover. But that time period is not considered the first day. The first day is considered when the sun comes up, the 15th day. So it's 7 days that you're eating unleavened bread, but you begin to eat it on the 14th day at the going down of the sun, at the end of that 14th day. So you can't count the 14th day as a day, because it's the end of the 14th day. The first full day is the 15th day. So brother, it is 7 days. Just like you can't count the 9th day of the 7th month as the Day of Atonement. No, you're just starting it off on the 9th day at even, the end of the 9th day. But the only day is the 10th day that you're fasting for the Day of Atonement. Now, again, brothers and sisters, if you read along with me as I went through this, you will understand clearly the dynamic between even and evening. Because you can't say on the 14th day at evening is the Passover, because now you're saying that it begins on the beginning of the 14th day. You can't say on the 9th day at evening is the Day of Atonement. You begin to fast, because now you're fasting for 2 days. Because the 9th day at evening is the beginning of the 9th day. Real simple dynamic, okay? So again, Moray, Josiah, Israel, also known as Zebulon, Israel, of the Spirit of YAH, based out of Jacksonville, Florida. And while I'm on here, I have a book that I've written 20 years ago called The Gospel Raw, Uncut, and Unheard. And my newest novel, and it is a novel that will blow your mind, called Shemaiah the Lawgiver. Look for those. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for spending this time with me. May Abba add a blessing for the reading of his word in Yahshua's name. Hallelujah.